making a YouTube video. Yeah, okay. Inmendham video. So I figured I'd do an anaconda just because, he asked the question, is life worth living? And, well, frankly, it's an interesting question, right? Because it's certainly a personal question. Is she worth masturbating to? I mean, it's that kind of, it's personal. But in a sense, the argument is creating life is the real issue. Is it a good idea to do biological experiments with the concept of a conscious living thing? Is this something worthy of experimentation? And I would say, obviously, the argument is no. You don't play with that kind of fire. 27 minutes.
This is kind of a video about my videos. It's a response to a few questions concerning my actual reasons for making these videos. And it goes back quite a while to when I first started to talk about the issues of life affirmation versus life denial. And
yeah, I probably should just watch the video, right? 27 minutes? We don't stand a chance. Well, let's just play along.
Why I'm actually doing it. It's an issue that's fascinated me for as long as I can remember actually thinking about the big issues, life, the universe, and everything.
Right.
I've always been interested in this.
Right. And so, I mean, you could just basically argue that anybody who's not interested is what you call one of those vacuous, airhead type morons. Maybe your wife.
And again, I come at it if anyone would make the connection between my nickname, my YouTube nickname, and this discussion.
Yes, he went to Buddha land and got all Buddha'd in his youth. So he has a bunch of notions that somehow these dirty, smelly, creepy people, in this cruddy, overcrowded, smelly country, have this secrets.
I come at it from the point of view of philosophical life denial versus philosophical life affirmation.
Well, why don't you do neither one of those things and just do philosophical reasoning and just say, look, it's not about denying the existence of life or denying that life has something. It's a something. It certainly is a something. Let's just recognize that it's a something that's really dangerous. Wow, is that too complicated? But this whole idea of looking for some reason to affirm, like affirm again your right to play God, and that's the real question here. Do you have a right to draw straws and put them in other people's pockets? That's the question.
And I wear this Om around my neck.
Yeah, well, see, that's the kind of stuff that just right away just smells of, ew, that's creepy. I mean, that's just religious fucktardia. So you're basically just saying, see, I'm basically a fucktard. This demonstrates I'm a fucktard. I'm a superstitious, loopity-doopity fucktard. That's what you're basically saying.
Even though I don't believe in God or anything like that.
But you believe that if you step on a crack, it'll break your dead mother's back, right? You don't really care, right? Because she's dead, but,
Which refers to my interest in Eastern philosophies. Anekantavada is a Jain, or not necessarily limited to Jainism, but it's...
Which doesn't have anything to do with his philosophy, which is ironic as fuck, right? I mean, their philosophy is basically, holy shit, life is sucky. This place is dangerous as fucking hell. Everything's getting stop stepping on stuff, breathing. Stop everything. Stop, pause. Hit the fucking pause button. I mean, Jainists are in a intense panic. So, you're just like, oh man, he is so fucking raping the Jainists. I mean, he's just fucking raping them. It's like walking up to a fucking feminist with a 3-foot hard penis in your hand. Fuck. To associate himself with anything Jainist just doesn't make any sense at all. It really doesn't.
In Jainism, it's central to it. But Jainism has been characterized, and I think it's accurate, as a life-denying philosophy. One could apply that to Buddhism and even Hinduism, Christianity, ultimately all of them, Islam. The only one that...
Well, whatever. I mean, I suppose you could say Christianity is in a sense, but, it's this reclamation kind of idea that if you learn your proper lessons here in shit hell, then yes, we'll let you float up to some place where you get to sit in the lounge forever.
Seems to be more life-affirming than life-denying, as far as I can see, is Judaism. But it is...
Yes, because they just do a lot of dancing. They just dance on everybody's grave and, fucked hard on everyone. Do their eye for an eye, poke out a bunch of eyeballs, and then dance on them, Brilliant. What a brilliant philosophy. Let's all go have a dance. Give some poor people some dead animals. Some roadkill. Yeah, find some roadkill, give it to a poor man. Yeah, he's earned it.
It's not really antinatalism that interests me. I've said this repeatedly, and I know that it doesn't look like this sometimes, but I really don't have an issue with antinatalism. It's not...
Well, you seem to have an issue with it, so yes, that just seems like a preposterous statement on your part. Yeah, I mean, you don't get the premise, you don't even get the argument. The argument's about the right to create life, and whether you have any such right or reason. And the argument is that, rationally, this is not a smart man's choice. It's an idiot's choice, a selfish cunt of an idiot. Someone like you.
It's not something that I find a dangerous philosophy or anything. I can see it as toxic to certain people who are struggling, say, with depression or with issues like that.
Yeah, again, I just don't see how it changes anything for the depressed person unless they're depressed by something incredibly superficial, and it'll give them something real to be depressed about. Yeah, that's about all it can do, though. It can only give them something legitimate to be depressed about. Right? You can only take somebody from illegitimate depression to some kind of legitimate depression. Yes, life is cruel, brutal, unfair, deserve has little or nothing to do with it, and everybody loses in the end. Oh gee, isn't that great? Yes, it is a little depressing.
Or perhaps not toxic, but not conducive to recovery, if recovery is indeed what they seek.
Yeah, whatever that means too, right? If recovery means be a fucking fanatic who ignores every element of reality and decides that things like logic and reason are just tools. Just apply them where you wish to and avoid applying them where you wish not to.
So it's not so much the idea of what we do with an antinatalist view of the world. It's just I tend to like to deal with the arguments. I tend to like to deal with the...
Well, where have you dealt with the arguments? See, that's the part that just mystifies me. You like to deal with them without dealing with them, or only dealing with them in some sort of personal, emotional, what's in it for me way, which really doesn't have anything to do with any rational person's perception of the universe, so I don't know how they can possibly communicate with you on the subject in any kind of coherent manner because you're not obeying the basic rule, which is the universe doesn't revolve around you, fuckhead.
Reasons why people seem to come to an antinatalist conclusion. And it's interesting in that...
Well, I mean, it's just like coming to the conclusion it's not right to eat animals or something, right? You can come to it because, well, I don't like meat. I feel better if I eat fruit and vegetables and such. So health reasons. I'll live 10 years longer. I'll have less cancer. I'll have less risk of this, less risk of that. So yeah, it's a good idea. Don't eat that greasy fried animal flesh thing. It's not good for you. Yeah, toxic. Well, and then there's the rational argument that, hey, these are little sensitive creatures. I don't want to cause them any extra harm. I don't want my name written in something else's entrails. I don't want any part of that shit. I ain't voting for it. Voting against it. That's simple. So yeah, there's reasons you do these things. Some good fucking reasons. I mean, me personally not finding it all that charming, imagining being responsible for another consciousness and constantly being worried about its welfare and where it is and what's happening to it right this very instant, and the fact that I would be totally insane as a parent. I would just be full of worry and distress constantly. So I don't see anything fun in it at all, and I really don't want to molest my child or something. So what's in it for me when I can look at it that easy way and just say, what the fuck is in this for me? I don't see the entertainment value at all. All I see is a lot of, is it going to get cancer this year? Is it going to cut his arm off this year? What's it going to do this year? Is she pretty enough? I don't want to play that game. That sounds like a really horrible game to play. Watch your kids struggle and be tormented, be bullied, be humiliated. That's a good time? Fuck no. So, just like vegetarianism, where I'm vegetarian for both reasons, I mean, it's a good idea not to eat poison, so yeah, okay, I won't eat poison. And it's a good idea not to harm animals. Well, I'm anti-natalist for the same two reasons. First, I can't for the life of me understand how there's anything smart about having kids for me personally. I don't see how the fuck I win at all. And second, I don't see how my victim would have won either.
There's always an undercurrent of life affirmation in just about every major tradition. In the West, it's kind of the occultish kind of left-handed.
It's just the bullshit lies that people tell each other, right? So you all live on a big pile of fairy tales and lies to make life palatable. You have excuses for parties, to get drunk, to be assholes, to dance, because you can't do anything real. You can't live any kind of real life. You have to wear your pretentious little hats and your silly clothes and your silly this and your silly that and play your silly game. Because the real game scares the fuck out of you.
One might even characterize it as satanic view of things, where the Satanists, if you ask me, go too far, because they flip things on its head, and they say bad is good and good is bad, or some of them do. I presume. I've actually never really studied Satanism, but
yeah, well, I guess the argument is that Satan's about the reality and God's about the lie. So Satan give you a fair deal. I don't know. It doesn't really make sense to say, bad stuff is fun, so they're obviously not into having bad stuff happen to them. But I guess they're basically saying, well, if you can suck somebody's blood, go ahead. That's what's in it for you, free blood.
There's kind of parallels in Eastern philosophy between the orthodox schools of Hindu and Jain and Buddhist philosophy and the heterodox ones, or the unorthodox ones, or almost anti-orthodox ones.
Right, so then why even bother having a title for any of this stuff? Because people just want to keep making up their own whatever bibble babble. So why don't you just call it something else? Just say it doesn't really have anything to do with Jainism or Buddhism or any of this stuff. It has to do with meism, and that's all you're about. Okay, so just call it meism, because that's what you're talking about, shithead. You have a desire. You can overwhelm all of your pain responses. You can overpower all the revulsion and disgust and horror that you might feel. Any fear that you feel, you can overcome. But you can't overcome your desire to eat fucking English cheese. I don't know what you would call that philosophy, but I call it loser. So, yeah, that's what I'll call it. How about that? Shit for brain loser. Crapola-ism.
Sanskrit word is astik.
Yeah, well, I'll make a Sanskrit word. Let me wait. I'll fart, and I'll see what the fart sounds like.
Which means they acknowledge the authority of the Vedas, but it just essentially means orthodox. And then there's Nastik, which to this day is kind of an insult in India, which means heterodox or unorthodox or counter move.
Whatever, made up, abbreviated, condensed for the purpose of convenience. Yeah.
And that's often applied to atheists or tantrics or whatever. The school of Eastern philosophy that fascinates me most is Tantra, and I engage in practices which are...
Right. You do your ritualistic I'm wonderful, magnificent, and beautiful. La 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 la. Yeah, right. Got it. Cool.
Broadly, broadly fall under the rubric of Tantra, which is basically just yoga, meditation, and certain types of meditation and a certain outlook. The Orthodox schools, and I think that this goes for just about every major world religion and philosophy, is life denying.
Whatever. So again, this is because somebody acknowledges that it's not a good deal, or it's broken, or there's some flaws in this game we're playing, they're life deniers. So we're just going to call them something like that. Just throw that label at them, even though, no, what they're saying is I don't deny its existence. I don't deny it took 4 billion years to make this stuff. I'm not denying that it's really cool. We got a brain that can do all this smart shit. But the truth is, okay, it's we're playing it as animals, and that doesn't add up, because they feed on each other. To win, somebody's got to lose, and that's a problem.
Ism means getting off the wheel of existence. Jainism means the same thing. Christianity, Islam they say,
heaven's better than hell, and both are, well, no, I guess this is more purgatory than hell, but yeah. Point is, there's better places to be, and I guess that's what the Buddhists are saying too, right? It's just this idea of getting yourself liberated from your insufficiencies and qualifying your spirit to be, hey, I'm above it all, and then you'll be above it all.
Pile your treasures in heaven, don't consider the ones here. Tantra says, no, wait, there's things about the world, things about existence that interest me.
Right, and there's nothing that interests everybody else. The Pope doesn't fondle little boys, and people don't fornicate and masturbate, do all kinds of things, and eat cheese and do all that kind of stuff and have fun. No, because they're life deniers. Fuck you. Fuck you and your insinuation that somehow you know what pleasure is. Fuck you. And only you have the secret to it. Yeah, fuck you.
But I know that the world is full of snares, and I know that the world is full of it's full of illusions, and you have to sort of deal with.
Yes, and you do reasoning, and you say, well, look, there's a lottery, and the lottery makes people billionaires, but the odds of winning are 800 million to 1. What do you think your odds are? I mean, it's like getting struck by lightning 3 times today. I mean, well, it's not quite that bad, but it's pretty outrageously bad. So what's the logical thing to do? Be a sucker? Or give a hooter? And don't pollute her.
Each and every one of the arguments that the quote-unquote life deniers make. And what you come up with is an interesting view, whereas you're not where you're not so much trying to get off the wheel of existence as you're trying to understand it and perhaps enjoy it like a circus ride.
Right, so again, this is the insinuation, as if people who understand life to be gnarly and messy and sloppy and disgusting somehow can't have a good time. And it's just a lie. Don't know what pleasure or fun is. I don't have much of a sense of humor, I'll tell you, but I never did. But I know I have plenty of fun, trust me. I know how to move my hand up and down. There, problem solved.
Roller coaster ride or something like that. Now, where I find the antinatalists useful is they have, or at least the type that I see on YouTube, or some of them, they have forceful, aggressive arguments as to why that is not only an incorrect point of view, riding.
No, it's not. It's exactly. I mean, that's your slander again, right? That somehow we're anti-pleasure or anti-enjoyment. I mean, the argument has been made why taking it from some other sentient being, torturing animals for your gratification, really doesn't make any rational sense. brain in trauma. You know, you don't solve your trauma by making something else in trauma. If I just pass the disease on to somebody else, right? Plague is coming right for me, and I hit it with a baseball bat right into my neighbor. I've accomplished something? I should be, hey, great, Gary, you saved us. You saved brains from experiencing plague. No, I goddamn didn't. I hit it into him. I mean, you can't understand that simple argument that some of these pleasures are too expensive, that your gratification will come at something else's torturous expense, and that's not a good deal. You don't pay torture for almost anything in the grocery store. So you can only pick things from the grocery store that don't involve torturing something else. So if you want to, you know, wrap a curtain around your neck and suffocate and be, do a little wanking, you know, to have a super orgasm or something, who the fuck's making a video telling you that's bad? Nobody. Alright? But when you want to wrap that curtain around some kid's neck, okay, and then say, I'm going to get off on watching it suffer, it wanting to be breathing again, that's fucking sadistic, motherfucker. There's a difference. You can't tell the difference? Wrap the curtain around your own fucking neck. Okay? Deal with your own gratification problems. You don't use something else as a victim to create your satisfaction. You don't jerk off on something else's head, fucker. That's just rude. Yeah, so because we make that argument that it's rude to masturbate on something else's head, you say we're against sex. Fucking liar.
The tiger, understanding what reality is.
Oh, he's doing that tiger shit again. You're riding the weasel, fucker. Nothing else. Saddle up, weasel rider.
Understanding what you are, what I am, etc. But there's all kinds of shoulds put on it, oughts put on it, that kind of thing. Now that ought is what...
Yeah, really. Yeah, that ought is what he can't deal with. The fact that there's rational equations where you know, okay, that it's even worse. If the plague is heading right for me, and there's a stadium with 50,000 people in it, and I whap the plague into that, then I'm even a bigger asshole.
Fascinated me from the very beginning, and it really put the hook in me, I have to confess, because that is something that had never actually come up before to me. It's not just the world isn't worth having kids in, it's you're actually doing something immoral by breeding. Now that
yeah, immoral. So of course he uses the words that none of us use, right? So it's just more tactics, more propaganda. You know, this is exactly how this is how propaganda is constructed, you know, is to falsely associate people with things. So to call it a morality, to say that people are vegetarian because of some moral code and not because they have a rational ethical code, that they rationally see the value in the sentient welfare of the feeling organisms. They're not human-centric. They don't have some false notion that humans are the only thing that feels, and that human feelings are the only feelings worth accounting for. So because they rationally acknowledge those facts, you're calling it a morality. To imply it's like a dogma or a religion, when it clearly is not. But again, it's just you don't have a good argument, so you have to make this lame, crooked one. You slimy cunt.
Fascinated me, and it's almost like a ready-made foil for all my cogitations. And as you see, I don't often...
I mean, it's just kind of amazing. I mean, this guy just doesn't know what basic ethics are, right? I mean, just even the best way to win a war or something. You know, that there's strategies involved and there's economies involved. That if you can win the war without raping a bunch of women and without killing a bunch of civilians and blowing up weddings and doing all that other shit, yeah, you try to do it that way because it's more economical. Fuck. But that's morality. What a silly notion. Where do people come up with that idea? That there's something called efficiency in how you function. No, there isn't. I don't have to be efficient. What sense does that make? Efficient. I can make lots of torture. Torture's it doesn't bother me. It doesn't hurt me any. I can torture all the shit I want. Does it mean anything? Why should somebody think that's a value problem? It's just stunning that you can get away with this shit. Look at these, 26 thumbs up. 26. I mean, to 1. For a video basically just saying me first is a really smart philosophy, and all that stuff where people are doing that economics thing and trying to figure out being fair and deserve and balance and efficient. Oh, no. That's just crazy talk. What can I say?
Correctly engage the more strident antinatalists, the forceful antinatalists, the ought-based antinatalists, or guilt-based antinatalists, or whatever you want to call them. But I tend to sort of deal with their objections.
Again, the guilt-based. It's guilt-based for you to point out when you're in war and a guy's going to go rape some 16-year-old girl, and you point out to him, hey, you know what, that might have a lot of negative consequences. You know, she might ruin her whole sexuality for the rest of her life. You know, you really, you have herpes, for fuck's sake, you know it. I mean, what are you playing that kind of game for? Oh, that's guilt-based ethics. You're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to explain consequences. No, that's evil. I mean, that's what 26 people are saying. Oh, fuck you. Explaining consequences? Fuck you. Fuck you. Life isn't about consequences. It's about the cheese.
As they come up, as they arise. To me, philosophy is something that means something. It has real life applications. It has real life meaning. And
yeah, he just wants to use it, again, like logic, conveniently, to create some sort of false notions of defense for his debauchery. I'm going to be a greedy taker, and this thing called philosophy that I've perverted and distorted will give me license to do so. There's no real hell, so by the what's in it for me argument, yeah, it's all win if I make life on this planet hell for other people.
As direct implications on the central sort of gist of what essentially is my philosophy of life. And my philosophy of life is based upon an answer to the question, is life worth living?
Well, like I've said, I don't think that's a question worth asking. But anyway, this is probably enough of the video. 30 minutes on this camera is a big file, so I shall leave it here, and I'll play the rest of the video and see if there's anything else worth commenting on, but I doubt it's going to be the same old bullshit. So, I think I've done what's necessary here.